Hey everybody, and welcome to the Jazz Lab podcast. Today we have the incredible Elijah Fox on. As always, I say this every time, but I'm so excited to have Elijah on. Elijah's background and experience are honestly so crazy. He's worked with so many incredible artists that I'm sure you've heard of, like Childish Gambino, SZA, J. Cole, Leanne La Havas, Music Soul Child. Honestly, the list goes on. I couldn't even say everybody or remember everybody that he's worked with. And on top of that, he has some of the most gorgeous solo music that I've heard in a long time. It's just so tasteful and creates so much space. So I definitely recommend taking a listen to Elijah's solo records. Elijah, thank you so much for being here, man, and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure, dude. Really quick, I want to thank Casio, the sponsor of today's episode, and I want to thank them for continuing to sponsor completely free long-form music education online. They have been such great friends to this podcast, and I really, really appreciate it. And they help me provide this incredible education for all of you for free. More on that later. All right, let's get right into it. Sorry to put you right on the spot, but one of the first things I usually like to do is just ask someone to play something for us. So if you've got something solo, go for it.
Sweet. I'll start out by playing one of my favorite standards. This is entitled Tenderly.
Man, that was so sick.
Thanks.
Really, really awesome. And I'm especially just like the feel, just when you're playing the melody, I was just like, oh my God, it swings so hard. Yeah, that was
thanks,
killer,
man.
dude.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, I just want to shout out all of Elijah's links. He's currently got a fantastic YouTube channel where you can hear all of his music. So be sure to go to his YouTube channel. And also, I'll put on screen his Instagram and TikTok handles and all of that good stuff. And you can definitely find it at the links below the video in the video description. Again, please be sure to check that stuff out. Elijah's incredible and putting out really gorgeous content on both a visual and musical level. I'm about to just dive right into the nerdiest questions because
Okay, sweet.
already I was hearing all the stuff I wanted to just like, I feel like people are gonna be really interested to hear what some of that actually was. So a few things that popped out for me. You did a couple times, I wanna say it was like this kind of shape. Something like that.
Yeah. Descending, exactly.
Yeah, and you did it in like a really beautiful spot that kind of caught my ear. I was wondering if you could just kind of explain what that...
So yeah, basically what these are is it's a set of major triads descending in minor thirds. So I was over this A flat 7. Here I did. So I have a, basically my left hand is just outlining the E flat diminished, which is coming off of that A flat 7. And then my right hand is playing a major triad, a half step down from each of the root notes. So B over C, A flat over A, F over F sharp, D over D sharp. So, and I think I did like, so, yeah. Or then, you know, you could also do if you've got a 2-5-1. So basically, if we were going to go off of a C7, say we got G minor, C. So here I'd have these shapes. E flat over E, C over C sharp, A over B flat, F sharp, so you know. Yeah. That type of thing. But like that was, yeah. Obviously, I try to make them not sound like a exercise when I play them, but they're nice to just, resolve when. But yeah.
Amazing, man. Yeah, that's super cool. And another thing I was wondering if you could explain, you do these beautiful kind of like ascending two-hand arpeggios. I'm kind of curious what the technique is there for nailing those.
Yeah, so, well, I have a lot of different things that I use to teach about creating different concepts I came up with ways of creating arpeggios, which I can kind of explain briefly now. Some of this is, I didn't necessarily use this on this song, but basically a lot of how I visualize arpeggios is with this concept of repeated note patterns. So what I would try to do is, to start out with, I would either do a 6 or 8 note pattern that ends near where it starts an octave higher. So for example, I'll take this E flat major 7, the first chord. So I'll start a 6 note pattern on the note D. So I'll create a pattern like this. So I'm doing D, E flat, F, G, B flat, F, and then that's setting me up to be there again in this octave. So then I can practice. Right? So. As an example, but because I always want to get, when I'm practicing, I always want to get the maximum mileage out of anything I'm doing. So then the second thing is, if we're taking this as a 6-note phrase, think of that as 2 breakups of 1, 2, 3. So I could practice 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I could go down 3, 2, 1. I could also go down 2, 3, 1, which would be. Right, now I'm getting this more. those kind of sounds. Or you could do 2, 3, 1 going up. Right, and then I'll also do that. I'll do like, okay, so, and then put that over like A flat maybe. And then if I come up with a pattern I like, I sort of hit store as like, oh, this is an option for an arpeggio or ending. On that specific song, and I think I was doing so like my left hand is kind of tracing up certain notes. These would be more 4-note patterns. Da, da, da.
So that's what your left hand's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so it's like sort of, so it almost sounds like a one hand. And the whole, it's all really coming out of like impressionistic music where it's like, it's less so the specific notes, but more the impression. So a lot of times, I'll just do sort of vague runs in a mode that kind of, it's just like throwing paint versus like sketching in. So they're always kind of loose, I guess, how I run some of those. But then I'll explain one more. You could also do like an 8-note phrase. So there's any other chord I'll create an arpeggio off of.
How about like a dominant sharp 11? 13 sharp 11.
So like what root note?
Let's just do C.
Okay, C. So C dominant, you said sharp 11?
Yeah, 13 with a sharp 11.
So like this kind of thing?
Yeah.
So for this, I'm going to create an 8-note phrase that I want to end near where it starts an octave higher. So I'll start on A. So I want to end near that A an octave higher. So I'm thinking. So yeah, I did A. You can see the notes, I guess, on this, so I don't have to read them. You have it. So then, you practice it a little slower. And then I could try to go back down. Oh, wait. And then anytime I come up with something I like, then I'll try modifying it. Oh, this could also work over a G minor, major 7. And then kind of like save that as an option. But it's the way that I think of arpeggios is almost similar to how some people think of like programming hi-hats almost. In that it's like, it's a consistent sound, but it's like different subdivisions sort of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. You could have a group of 4 and a group of 3 in your left hand,
exactly.
Or even slightly like they're actually varying in rhythm. Right?
Yeah.
Like 3 and then maybe the 4 are like 16th notes, something like that. You mean?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, kind of like odd subdivisions, but it's still in 4/4. But like I think of another exercise I'll do sometimes is thinking of different patterns. Let's take like a 16-note phrase, and then I'll think of different patterns that would make it feel weird, but still be in 16. So like a 5/5/6. If I'm outlining these arpeggios, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 1 2 3. Like that type of thing. But that's a weird example, but it's I wouldn't necessarily do that on that song, but it's more of like a songwriting or arrangement tool that can be nice to just put like 7/7/2 instead of just the. So then I would have like that type of thing.
Got it.
Yeah, it's similar to like how drummers use. Break up something.
That's really interesting. So it's kind of the combination of breaking up the rhythm and the pattern so that it doesn't sound overly patternistic,
Mm-hmm.
and then keeping it kind of within the diatonic scale that you're working on. That's beautiful.
And then also a lot of times when I'm recording music, I'll sometimes layer different subdivisions. So you could have like a 5-5-6 pattern that's then over 7-7-2, and then it's almost like they're two. It's like basically like a lot of percussion instruments, but it's all piano, or like all like plucky synthy sounds, but they're playing off different little subdivisions, stuff like that.
Very cool, man. That's really great. I really appreciate you coming with like this well thought out system for actually explaining this. That's like really, really so awesome. I feel like people are going to really appreciate that.
Sweet.
So that's sick, dude. Another nerdy question for you. Mm-hmm. Just curious, how do you think of stride? Like, how would you actually practice getting that comfort with stride? Mm-hmm. And what did you do to actually build that comfort and learn it? Is there any kind of techniques or practice stuff that you could recommend to people?
Yeah. Well, I think with stride, it's similar to walking a bass or other stuff, where it's like with it, you really want it to feel like you're walking, so that like it's easy. It's so easy for me to walk and talk on the phone, right? Because I've walked so much. So like it's like my right hand is like talking on the phone and my left hand is like the walking. So a lot of what I'll do is like, even when I used to practice a lot, I'll be drinking a cup of coffee on my phone, just walking my left hand, doing other stuff, and just trying to get that so that it feels, it's never going to be as comfortable as actually walking, but get it so that you don't have to think about it, and then you can put more of your brain focus onto your right hand, really singing over what you're doing. But your left hand it's not on autopilot, but it's like it doesn't have to require a lot of things, because it's a pretty complex, I guess, subgenre or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, a lot of what I would start out is, you just want to hit the root chord and then bounce. So like the most basic version would be kind of, but I tend to play more of these voicings too, tenths. So what you can always do is an exercise is good, is just to walk up in a scale. So in C major, you can start to fill in with other, like a lot of times what I'll do is a tenth roll down. So that's an example, but or that wasn't the best example, but you kind of, once you get comfortable with the,
Can you give us a phone demo?
Yeah. Hey mom, how's it going? Yeah, things have been great. Yeah, it's a really nice day today. This weather's getting better, and yeah, so excited to see you tomorrow. Let me know when you touch down. I might be able to pick you up from LAX. All right, love you, mom. Something like that. But,
amazing stride player plus wonderful son.
Yeah. My mom actually is coming to town tomorrow.
Amazing. You're like killing two birds with one stone. You're like practicing, but also checking in with your parents.
yeah, exactly. Fulfilling my daily duties as a son. Yeah, and then, once you get more comfortable with something, I'll start to try to find other little spots to add in stuff. I mean, a lot of what's also nice is, let's just take a 2-5-1 because it's easier. C major. You could do sometimes I'll just practice like these type of patterns. that type of thing.
Yeah, man.
But then you kind of put in maybe, there's one spot in the arrangement where I do a side step down with a 10th, and then this other spot where I kind of, but you can just start out by just getting comfortable with it, just bump, bump, and try to sound like a Freddie Green or guitar style, just locking into that groove. But it's really fun. I think Art Tatum's like still my favorite piano player, so I kind of go in and out of phases where I'm like doing more tune stride, but and like working on more stuff in that subgenre. But I think a lot of the trickiest part is just getting the left hand to be like a band in a box or whatever thing, so that you can focus your energy on getting the right hand to sing.
What's the biggest reach you have for a 10th?
I can reach a 12th, which is kind of nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. I can sometimes get further than that.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can only get the 10th.
Oh yeah. I don't play this. I don't play it in a 12th, but I can reach this with one hand.
So before we move on from the stride, one other question. So amazing left hand explanation. What about the right hand? Because you were doing all this really beautiful diatonic.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first thing I recommend for right hand is, in addition, is just doing inversion slash, taking any chord and just running up, so E flat major 7. And then, the right hand, I'm thinking for this song, yeah. So that, I did a diminished thing, I'm going. Yeah, you might be familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then you can taking that phrase, right? Then I would take, how do I do that off of a minor 9? So just. Or something like that.
Once again, like, impressionism feels like it's present.
Yeah.
What's that chord?
G sharp 11. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah. But yeah, then all of the diminished, this stuff. Drop 2s.
Dude.
Random stuff like that. But I think it's just kind of about, I love listening to like Errol Garner, people that kind of get their right hand to like sing. It's like the little inflections, that then sounds really nice when you do that. But yeah, a lot of times when you're getting used to like this whole concept, I'll just do like 2-5-1s or something, So that you can you're just getting used to that, and then once you start playing standards, that's like a third of it anyway, and those patterns kind of thing. So
amazing, dude. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking, let's give the audience a quick break from the incredibly valuable piano theory stuff we've been talking about.
Okay.
And I'm thinking we can get back into talking. And I'm thinking what we can do is get into some more talking questions, which should be fun. But don't worry, audience, we are going to get back to some straight up useful piano techniques later on, so stay tuned. All right, so let's dive right in. Who are your top 3 to 5, I'll give you some wiggle room, musical influences? It can include piano or outside of piano as well.
Well, my top 3 influences would be, the first person I grew up hearing was my grandma, who was a classical pianist. And she lived in Rochester, New York, and taught piano up there for like 60 plus years. But that is the first experiences I have hearing music or hearing piano. So I attribute a lot of why me and my brother played to her. And I think she actually encouraged us not to start too young and to start around 8 or 9. But she studied in Paris with Nadia Boulanger in like the 50s to be a concert pianist, and then sort of started raising a family and kind of put that some of those dreams, I guess, on pause. And she still taught for over 60 years and performed all these beautiful concerts in upstate New York area. But she has this insanely, yeah, her love for music and like her touch and her love of impressionistic and romantic music, and she also plays jazz and can sight read anything, is I think one of my biggest influences. And then there's also this pianist, Yussef Salim, who was sort of my first mentor in the jazz world. And he, well, basically, I grew up in Durham, North Carolina. And when I was like 10 or 11, I saw this ad in a newspaper for like a jazz jam session. And I had like knew how to play like C jam blues or something. But I was like, I asked my mom to take me. And Yussef was there, and he was in his 70s. He played with Charlie Parker, all these people back in Baltimore in the 50s, and was kind of like a legend in the scene. And he basically became like my first mentor in jazz and Black American music. I just got super into music because then if I learned like a new song during the week, I could come back and play with the band on Friday. And so I learned how to play like shell voicings and stuff from seeing like his left hand playing. And at first he would be playing chords while I was just playing a melody. And he was also like sort of near the end of his life. So he was like, in a weird way, an amazing teacher because his technique was really limited, but he expressed so much through like his feeling and his phrasing and expression. So as a kid, it was awesome to learn from because he was playing a lot of like shell and rootless voicings, and then, you know, playing this kind of like slow vocabulary and stuff that was when I just really fell in love with music and started playing more. So yeah, those are probably my main two like early influences. And then I would say studying with Sullivan Fortner in college, and Dan Wall, the professor at Oberlin, was really, I guess, changed the way I approached music and improvising, and also, yeah, the way I approached learning music, I think, at that time as well.
Could you impart a little bit of what those guys taught you, and like maybe what are some of those, whether it be concepts, techniques, or just overall, you know, ways of looking at music? What are some of the things that stick out in your mind as moments where you're like, wow, this thing that I practiced is amazing?
Yeah, well, I would say Dan Wall really taught me so much about voicings and also how to sort of sit and meditate with like a chord and a tonality, and in a way of like free improvisation, but also just kind of like a method of searching for, not a method, but like a practice of searching for beauty with harmony. And it's kind of like they just kind of opened up this gate that's like it's this like amazing quest, but like there is no destination. And I kind of realized that when I was studying. So basically I was at Oberlin, and Sullivan Fortner, who's like one of my favorite pianists, an amazing pianist, he had gone there. And then Dan Wall took a sabbatical for 6 months. So Sullivan came back and was our teacher for 6 months. And like what I realized was, I was like, wait, he's a better student than any of the other students at that time. And he wasn't even like, he wasn't a student, he was the teacher. But he was so curious, and like his whole approach to piano was like this like mysterious beauty, that it's like this endless quest, that like something about it's kind of hard to put into words, but it's almost a quest for like another language, where it's like there's some people, myself included, that feel like we can speak better with this than with English. it's like a lifelong quest for like connection. And so I think both of those guys just kind of like opened up my mind to these almost like meditative ways of practicing a little bit, in addition to all the like concrete things that we covered, which I can jump into. But I think it was really transformative because it just opened up everything into this just like lifelong quest kind of thing. That's like, that just makes everything so much more fun and exciting, I think, because you're always a student kind of. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I think that is a really important mentality to maintain, because the truth is we all can always keep getting better. That's not to say you shouldn't appreciate the progress you make, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Being lifelong learners, they also say, I have no idea who, but they say that, that lifelong curiosity of always wanting to know more and exposing your brain to new information and new skills because of that thirst for knowledge is one of the best ways to have brain longevity, So it makes so much sense. And it also makes sense that someone with that, disposition would end up being one of the, greatest pianists ever. So Sullivan, he's like, I feel like he's at this point considered one of the living great jazz pianists. So that's really interesting. And you said maybe we could do a couple more direct functional things. I'm curious, is there like one thing that Sullivan, for example, showed you, or Dan, that is like, this is what I did at the piano, and this was a really interesting technique that I practiced?
Yeah, Sullivan showed me one exercise, which was an open fist thing. It was like this. Oh, sorry. And it's, so you're taking these type of shapes. And then with you've got a sixth in between your hands, so you can kind of move these inner voicings. Yeah.
And what's that little middle thing?
So.
All the way down there.
So basically, you always go. Basically, I think it's what's called the bebop scale. Like you're in the C major scale, but then adding in G sharp. Or I guess you do that. Oh, so you always go down.
Oh, I see.
And then you can take that out to bigger voicings too, with these open fifths voicings, like with this type of shape. Because with this, you've got basically, you can move down the top two notes, so you can do. So
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
And that type of stuff, or that type of stuff.
So it's really the two thumbs, essentially.
Yeah, it's a lot of like inner voicing stuff with these shapes.
Really nice. All right, so you've been playing a lot with the Yussef Days experience. And obviously Yussef is a ridiculous musician, and the band has a very specific sound. And one thing I'm really curious about, because when I've seen the videos of you guys, I haven't yet had the privilege of seeing you perform in person, but when I've seen the videos, one thing that always impresses me is your sound selection. So I'm kind of curious, what was the process of selecting a lot of the sounds that you use when you're playing with them? And is that like a kind of band situation where you're actually deciding as a band? Are you trying to replicate the records as much as possible, or are you kind of coming up with your own things and just being like, how's this?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of sort of trial and error, and I would play a lot of different sounds, and there's a lot of like sort of freedom in that group to try stuff. And then at certain times, like a lot of the songs too have sort of like loosely improvised sections that kind of like morph over time a little bit. So there might be like one time when I try one sound on one song, and then like after the show, like Yussef will be looking back at a video and be like, oh man, I love that sound, like use that again there or something. And then it's like, okay, I'll whatever, kind of store that as an option, and then that becomes the new framework that then I'll still adjust off, or we always kind of play stuff in like a state of flux. But a lot of the sounds too, because that playing in that band kind of forced me out of my comfort zone to use more boards and use more sounds and develop this kind of like octopus-like approach to playing keys, which it involves like me categorizing all of the sounds in my head, because when I'm playing, we don't use any tracks. So sometimes I'm playing up to 6 synthesizers. I've even performed on 8 at a time, and I'm simultaneously switching between patches on all of the boards without using without using any other help or automation. And also we don't use a set list. So like a lot of the times I'm doing all of that on the fly, not knowing what drum groove he's going to go into, and then instantly have to switch all 5 of these presets to go, and then during the song also be switching while playing, and like keeping like basically a library of sounds in my head of this board, this option, so that then if we go into like an improvised segment, I can basically still push stuff forward and have new sounds. But the way that I classify sounds kind of like leads, pads, plucks, arps, that type of thing. A lot of the sounds that I create too will have a lot of delay, so I can go to it for a second and then it'll ring out, and then I can move back here, but it kind of makes it like a transition, a natural transition, where if I just go here for a second but there's a lot of delay, it's almost like hitting some chimes or something. Less and less so like, oh, that's the melody, so to speak. Some of the sounds are also just purely like effect, like palette sounds. They're more just like almost triggering effects, but they might be still melodic.
So when you say that you are playing 8 synths at once, do you mean, just to clarify, you have 8 separate synthesizers on stage with you, or you have 2 or 3 but you're switching between patches, or have patches layered?
So I've done a gig where I had 8
Wow.
boards, and every time I play, I have it with Yussef. I have at least 3, typically like 3 to 5, but and then all of those also have hundreds of patches, basically, or dozens of patches, really. So yeah, it's like ambitious sonically to have that many sounds, but I think people, like, I've kind of created a weird way of playing piano that's, or a weird way of playing synthesizers that's like this kind of thing where I'll go to one thing for like 1 second, and it's almost like painting, in that it's, you know, it's colors, it's splashes of colors, less so than like a gridded thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dude, that does make total sense, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
I also want to give a quick shout out here to the gorgeous
Selviano Grand Hybrid Piano.
This is a really interesting instrument, a very unique instrument, because it's a digital keyboard that I get to actually use for MIDI and production, but it literally has real physical hammers built in. So usually digital instruments are essentially creating keybeds to try and emulate a real hammer action keybed or piano, right? This one literally is a digital instrument with it actually built in. So I find it really, really cool. You open up the back here and you can actually see the hammers up in the corners. And what do those hammers do? Well, they make it feel amazing to play. So I love this. I will hook this keyboard up into MIDI. I'll use it to play through either Piano Tech or Keyscape, one of the beautiful sounding piano sounds on my computer for production purposes, and yet I actually feel like I'm playing a real grand piano.
This instrument also has 3 beautiful piano sounds that I wanted to show you really, really quick. So this is the Berlin Grand. Here's the Hamburg Grand. And finally, check out the Vienna Grand.
I just wanted to make sure to shout out this instrument as well because I've been really enjoying using it. Again, if you want to learn more about this, check out the link in the description. That's an affiliate link for me, so it really helps me and Casio out. And one more big thank you to Casio for sponsoring these episodes. I enjoy doing them so much, and it's great to work with a company that wants to support really quality education going out for free to all of you. All right, let's get right back into the episode.
All right, so this is a great place to transition into composition. So obviously you have a super strong, unique individual sound. When I go and search Elijah Fox on Spotify, I know what I'm getting, and it's this really beautiful, luscious solo piano, sometimes ambient synth sound. So my first question before I dive into composition actually is, what would you say has been your process for actually finding that sound? How did you land into essentially that sound feeling representative of who you are and deciding I'm on this specific musical journey right now?
I think my sound, I guess I found through a mix of like listening to influences, but then also treating the piano like a journaling kind of thing almost. So like I was in a phase for a while where I would wake up and every day I would play piano. I would record myself improvising for 45 minutes before I talked to anyone, looked at my phone, or really interacted with the outside world. So like every morning, basically, I would just record like almost a series of like journals, entries with the piano, which was just expressing emotions like as close to a dreamlike state as I was when I woke up. And so a lot of my songs, so to speak, are actually just improvised. I didn't write anything down. They were just almost like me working through certain exercises or just moving shapes around, and then that kind of turned into a thing. But I would have never guessed that like my solo, because I have a lot of music, I have music out with me singing as well and like other stuff. I wouldn't have guessed that the solo piano stuff is what would have resonated with, or what it be my top streaming songs, I guess, so to speak. Yeah, I kind of just developed my style through the influences I am inspired by, and then also, I guess, I almost think about it as like sort of creating a cloud for people to escape to. And so it's like, it's the textures and some of the sound or harmonies that like people can dream to, or like, you know, makes their life feel like makes it feel like it's a score to their life. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
No, that makes total sense. So when it comes to actually composing, would you say you're mainly improvising, or then do you go back and fix anything up or like re-record it once you've changed a couple chords? Or are you like, no, I've practiced this improvisational state so much that oftentimes I just capture like the one that goes to streaming?
Yeah, oftentimes, well, there have been times when I've written more. Like there's some songs, I have this one song, Central Park West, that like I actually kind of composed and like, you know, thought about. Still never wrote it down, but I like remembered the part. And then there's other songs, like even my song, Wyoming, I can't really play because I improvised it. And so I can play like the first some of it, but I don't play it like how it was because it was improvised and it kind of captures that moment. It's almost just like freezing a time. So I don't even have a desire really to play it again because it would be different or whatever. A lot of the imperfections, I think, with the improvising stuff don't actually bug me out. It's weirdly like an easier process than anything else because it's like I can just practice improvising, and then once you improvise, then it's like, oh, I'm not gonna edit anything because it is what it is. So there's different ways that while I'm improvising, I'm pushing myself to do different stuff. But I also just went on like a fully improvised tour where I just improvised the whole show at each venue and recorded all of the shows. But like I kind of just try to lean into the like, I guess there's times when it sounds like I'm searching for something, and then I'll kind of find something to more that sort of clicks, I guess. For a lot of it, I just try to, I don't edit too much after the fact. I end up liking some of the mistakes. Because also I think like, to me, like life makes absolutely no sense. If anyone could explain that, like, it's like, I wouldn't want to strive for my music to like necessarily make sense in any term of way. And I think a lot of the most beautiful things in my life have been like flat out mistakes. So I would more strive to like not change some things after the fact. But I think I just, even with music in general, I just try to lean into the mystery of not knowing what I'm gonna play. I mean, a lot of times too, when I'm improvising, I'll get into these weird. It's basically a lot of weird things that I think about that I've found allow me to improvise better, even if I don't necessarily believe in them. I will, tell myself that I'm playing what the piano wants to play. So I don't even exist. I'm basically a vessel for bringing this old wooden instrument what the sounds that it would want to hear. And then I'm essentially a translator of this piece of wood that was once a tree and has existed in this old studio for however many years, might have been played by these other people, or this old hall and whatever in Norway or something. And then when I think about what does the piano want to play, it allows me to tap into something where even that's like, I don't necessarily believe that the piano is like alive. I mean, I do, but like I wouldn't have to believe that. But like through the process of doing that, I'm able to like come up, like it works better for me creatively to think of the piano as playing me, essentially.
Okay, so that's really, really interesting to hear. And given that you are coming from such an improvisational background and such an improvisational place, I'm curious then, when you're actually transplanted into the room with an artist and you're acting very much as a producer in a lot of ways or a songwriter in that process, is your process actually different? How does that usually go? If, let's say you're in the room with J. Cole or Lihan Lahavas, like what does that actually look like, that process of working with that person? Is it different every time? Do you have a specific way that you approach it?
When I'm working with an artist, I'm thinking of myself basically as a translator. So I just want to create something that's going to accompany and tell their story the best it can. And so a lot of what I'll do is like, play a couple chords, sort of gravitate where the artist wants to go, or like if they like something, it's kind of like trying out a couple ideas, and then I'll kind of go a certain way based on what they want to tell. If there's already a specific theme they want to talk about, I'll try to match some chords that fit the theme of that emotion or something. And I'm also kind of just thinking how some of my experiences were playing in church. When I used to play at a church in Ohio, and like I would have to improvise while the pastor was speaking, and so everything that I played is to affirm and like affirm and accompany her message. And so it's kind of the same thing where if I'm working with a rapper or a vocalist, where everything I'm trying to do is to just accompanying what they're trying to say, playing a supporting role to the best ability, to the best of its abilities, which is one of the reasons that I like playing piano, is because it's got a great ability to kind of help words resonate, I guess.
Really interesting.
In other ways, because, someone could deliver the same lyrics, but with these chords, the way you hear the words is different.
Yeah, I think that's really, really cool, because a very common question in songwriting is, well, do you start with lyrics or music first? And I feel like most people, do some mix between the two, but it's really interesting to hear you say that, because it is like really taking into deep consideration the meaning of the lyrics, and then thinking, how do I best support these lyrics on a musical level? So just even a little bit more into the nitty gritty, what does it look like, let's say, if an artist brings you a melody? Are you immediately kind of using the strategy of both supporting the melody and actually playing stuff that's within the realm of that artist's music? Or are you actually starting off just doing what you feel and seeing how they react, even without necessarily being directly concerned about what their previous music has sounded like?
I think it's kind of a fine balance of like, I always want to be informed by having listened to an artist's catalog and what they have, other recent stuff, because anything that we make that then potentially would come out is still going to exist in that world, essentially, of like, this would be coming after that. So I like to be always informed, but I don't like to listen to too many references when I'm creating, because sometimes that can narrow me in when I like to stay. I like to keep as many possibilities open at first. So I wouldn't want to like go in saying, we need to make another song. Like, this worked, and then this worked for this artist. Let's do that again, if that makes sense. Because totally, I think a lot of times the best songs are the ones that are kind of like, it's that like 4-leaf clover kind of thing that's like, it worked because it was unlike anything else, in that you still want it to be consistent with someone's catalog, but I think I sometimes I steer clear of doing too many references, so that I'm not like, that my ears aren't like overblown, and that I can hear more space for something to come.
That makes a lot of sense. So kind of continuing in that vein, I have a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
Because these are 2 questions that I've been wanting to ask you about music business.
Okay.
And so the first question really is just 2 questions. The first question is, so in terms of actually releasing music, let's say on Spotify, I was at your place the other day, and I saw you using DistroKid. Hopefully I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when it comes to the actual kind of business marketing element, I feel like so many people would strive to, experience the stream success that you have achieved. Not that it should all be about that, but I am just curious, like, is there any business advice that you would give someone in terms of, hey, how do you get a lot of streams? Like, did you use any strategies, or was it actually just, I put my music up and I see what happens?
My main strategy, so to speak, I think would have just been consistency, which is that like, so I haven't spent any money on promoting my music ever. I've put out everything, like most of the stuff as of now, independent, and only promoted it through Instagram and stuff, and I never even paid for a single ad with that stuff. I'm not necessarily proud of that, but I think what it was for me was it all kind of tied into, like, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of realized, like, I was like, okay, I'm waking up each morning, I'm basically meditating or journaling with piano. I can take a video, I can record what I'm doing each morning, take a video sometimes of these, whatever, 45-minute improvisations, or just a snippet of I'll just wake up and, oh, I came up with this idea today. I'll video that. I'll put that on Instagram. I treat Instagram as a trash can. I don't necessarily have respect for the platform in that I love how it can connect to real things, but like I don't have a high quality control of what I put on there. I see it as like, it's just like fishing, where it's like you can do something for free that can reach people. So if it doesn't reach people, it's totally fine, because I'm just in this zone of improvising and living my life, which is what is inspiring what I play each morning. But then basically I think I just posted I posted a lot of videos of myself with different ideas, and then started to put a lot of those songs out online. And then eventually, because it was such a consistency, there's now, a catalog of songs that are all, sounds like me playing piano, that then when you really see the stuff pick up is when the whole catalog lifts up. And it could have been a number of things that helped with that for me. There was someone that posted my song Wyoming onto TikTok as like an original sound, and then that whatever went viral on TikTok as her sound, just putting up behind these videos, and then that made the streams for that start doing better, and then everything else started doing better. And then I got an email that Drake had sampled one of the songs that I also put up on DistroKid that I owned 100% of, and then after that, more people found the album. All of the songs started doing better. So it's like the same type of thing where the same catalog that I already had out 3 years ago or whatever was generating like virtually no money. And then suddenly everything can kind of take off at once. But because you keep casting these lines, it's like once you can pull someone into your world, then if there's enough stuff there, they can exist there, and that can be a part of their lives. But it's like, Instagram is just like a free like fishing thing, where it's like it's not that deep. If if I post something and no one likes it, it's like, okay, well, I was just fishing. There's I'm just gonna wake up and keep doing that, because I like to wake up and play piano, and then it's just like a little thing that's in the side of but like the main thing is the music that's coming out, and the searching for different ways of expressing feelings through music. But so I kind of I feel like I've been happy that I've been able to kind of keep it as this thing that's like, it doesn't necessarily feel like work all the time, because I'm just like, oh, I came up with this idea, like let me post this on Instagram. Oh, someone likes it. They found another song that I like. And they're coming out to a show. That's amazing. Like this thing turned into real life. But like, if it doesn't, I wouldn't want to let that like phase me or put weight behind it. Because like at the end of the day, it doesn't, I still just want to wake up and feel inspired to like whatever, journal on piano. So
that's
it's like,
really interesting, man.
For me, if I had been searching for like a streaming success, I wouldn't have developed a style. Like I wouldn't have done what I had done. Yeah, and I think the success to me is the joy. If I can increase my joy playing music, then other people are going to want to listen to that more. And so I'm looking for ways to do that. And then it's like, oh, if the streaming stuff picks up, it's like, oh, that's just a sign that whatever I'm doing in the morning is kind of working. But like, it's not because I would have wanted that, for example. You know what I mean?
Dude, first of all, thank you for sharing that about your social media, because that's actually, you just answered another one of my questions. I was really curious how you do your social media. And I think it's really interesting for me in particular, because everyone has a different method, but I think the most sustainable thing, granted how much we kind of are supposed to be putting out into the world, is to do it in a way that you enjoy. So if your process, a lot of people talk to me and their process is like every day I wake up and I strive and I write out my video script and I do a video every single day, and almost without fail, the person who does that, not to knock that for the people it works for, most people, they get pretty burned out on that, because it's just so much thought and effort every single day. But if you can kind of do it in a way where you actually enjoy it, like you're doing what you were doing anyway, that's really, really cool. I think people are going to find a lot of value in that wisdom. All right, let's get back into some stuff at the piano. So this is a question I ask everyone who comes on this podcast. What are your 3 favorite chord voicings?
Well, I think they're always changing. I like this shape. This is kind of like a sharp 11 sound. Or I also like this. I like playing these kind of like almost Joni Mitchell sounding chords. What else? I also really like this shape. I think I have a weird thing where I kind of like the chords to me are kind of all informed by what came before. So I like chord movements that's sort of, I like to think about it as some ways in like, it's like if you're on a tour, like the way that each city appears is informed by where you were. So like your experience in LA after being in New York is going to be different than your experience in LA after coming from San Francisco or whatever. And those are like all, it's like, it's the, like the chord, it's you know, it's just this kind of unexpectedness of how something sounds in relation to the others. That's kind of this weird math, I guess. I don't know.
Amazing. Yeah. So in a way, almost more the movement between voicings than the voicings themselves that you're enjoying.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
so.
Amazing, dude.
I love the way this exercise sounds. You know, they're going like a minor 9 to a major 7. Da, do, 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 that type of thing.
Cool, man. Well, I would actually love, as we've been talking so much about your improvisational process, to hear you improvise something. Would you be down to just kind of show us, like, here's what I do at my shows?
For sure.
Man, absolutely phenomenal.
Thanks.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
What do you say we do some things together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, so much fun playing with you. Really appreciate you being on the podcast. This was amazing. I think people are going to just derive so much value from pretty much every single answer that you gave today. So, dude, from me and everybody watching, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your techniques. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, man.
Yeah, such a pleasure, and definitely hope to have you on again in the future. Again, everybody be sure to check out Elijah's links in the description. He has beautiful work coming out on Instagram every single day, despite the fact that it's his trash can. This man's trash is all of our treasure. So yeah, definitely check him out there, and just look him up on Spotify. You will find such a wealth of beautiful work, some newer, some older, and it's really gonna be great to listen to. So thanks, Elijah, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks to everyone who's been tuned in.
And yeah, we'll all collectively see you soon, I hope.
Yes.
All right, man. Take care.
Sweet.